Finally, we're back. After the enforced break because of the COVID-19 pandemic, TCR series have restarted all over the world, and so this is the very first taste of the 2020 season. On the menu, TCR Denmark, TCR Italy, TCR Russia, TCR Japan, TC America, and the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. Welcome to Inside the World of TCR. In June, the inaugural race of the brand new TCR Denmark Championship was one of the very first events to take to the track after the COVID-19 global shutdown. The first winner was Kasper H. Jensen, who grabbed a lights-to-flag victory at the wheel of his massive motorsport Honda Civic Type R. Martin Andersen in a Hyundai i30N tried in vain to stay in touch with the leader and eventually finished second, while Jan Magnussen, driving a Volkswagen Golf, completed the podium in third position. At the start of race 2, Jakob Mathiasen made great use of pole position on the reversed grid to take the lead. The win, however, went to Nikolai Silvest in a Volkswagen Golf, who snatched the lead from Mathiasen after a safety car intervention. Jensen was third, Magnussen fourth, Markussen fifth, and Andersen sixth. At the start of race 3, Jensen sprinted from pole ahead of Silvest, while Martin Andersen was given a drive-through penalty for a jump start. The leading duo pulled away, and behind them there was a close fight for third. Jensen won from Silvest, Mathiasen and the recovering Andersen, who overtook Michael Markussen in the dying moments of the race. In the drivers' standings, Jensen is the early leader with 67 points, while Silvest is second, 9 points adrift. TCR Denmark will return to Jyllandsringen on September the 12th and 13th for 2 consecutive race meetings. Mugello hosted the opening rounds of TCR Italy. In the first race, the reigning champion Salvatore Tavano in the brand new Cupra Leon Competition started from P3, moved into P2 during the opening lap, and chased the early leader Marco Pellegrini's Hyundai i30N. Pellegrini resisted for 4 laps, but this was when Tavano took the lead. 1 lap later, pole sitter Eric Brigliadori pitted with a flat front tyre. On lap 12, Pellegrini made a mistake and went into the gravel. However, he managed to rejoin and held on to second place. Tavano won in front of Pellegrini, while Felice Jelmini completed the podium at the end of an outstanding recovery from 23rd on the grid to 3rd at the checkered flag. In the second race on lap 4, Simone Pellegrini went into the gravel after being pushed. After the race, the stewards punished Jelmini with a 25-second penalty for causing the accident. So Jelmini, who took the checkered flag as winner, was dropped to 15th, and Damiano Reduzzi in a Hyundai i30N was promoted to race winner in front of Franco Girolami, brother of WTCR driver Nestor, and debuting in touring cars. Marco Pellegrini finished third and so took the lead of the series with a 13-point gap over Tavano and Reduzzi. Carmignati is fourth, Girolami is fifth, and Jelmini sixth. The 5th season of TCR Russia debuted at the Smolensk Ring in mid-July. Race 1 started in pouring rain after 3 laps behind the safety car. Lukashevich sprinted from pole while his teammate Andrei Maslenikov, who sat alongside him on the front row, lost second position to Mityayev. At the end of the first lap, Mityayev grabbed the lead from Lukashevich with a brilliant overtaking move on the outside of the last corner. Lukashevich, Ladygin and Bragin then provided an exciting battle for the remaining podium places. During the final 2 laps, Lukashevich's pace faded a little, which enabled Ladygin and Bragin to move into P2 and P3 respectively. But on the final lap, Lukashevich recovered to take third from Bragin. For Mikhail Mityayev, it was an authoritative maiden victory. Behind the leading quartet, Maslenikov was 5th and Budlutsky 6th. At the start of the second race, Alexei Dudukalo took the lead from Ladygin, Bragin, Budlutsky and Mityayev. The latter was able to pass the 3 drivers ahead and moved into P2 by the end of the first lap. The race was then neutralised by the safety car after a crash that involved Anton Nemkin's Honda Civic and Andrei Radoshnov's VW Golf. After contact with Bragin, Lukashevich slowed on lap 15 and stopped in the middle of the track. The red flag was deployed, and with only 2 laps remaining, the race didn't restart. So Duducarlo took the win in front of Mityayev and Ladygin. Burlutsky finished 4th, Maslenikov 5th and Bragin 6th. Rounds 3 and 4 then took place at the brand new circuit of Igora Drive near St. Petersburg. At the start of race 1, Ladygin sprinted from pole to lead into turn 1. He was followed by Bragin, Kalmanovic, Lukashevich and Duducarlo, who'd made a great start from 12th on the grid. Soon Duducarlo gained 2 more places as he overtook Lukashevich and Kalmanovic. On lap 4, the safety car was deployed to recover a super production car from the gravel and circulated for 4 laps. When racing resumed on lap 8, Ladygin began to create a gap, while Bragin was committed to defending 2nd place from Duducarlo. Ladygin won in front of Bragin, who managed to defend his position from a determined Duducarlo. The win also meant that Ladygin moved into the points lead, ahead of his Lada Sport Rosneft teammate Mikhail Mityayev. At the start of the second race, Pavel Kalmanovic sprinted from row 3 while the lights were still red and took the lead from Fatkudinov and Radoshnov. Kalmanovic, though, would be hit with a drive-through later on in the race. It was then a chaotic race that saw many of the top drivers involved in incidents that forced them to retire or pit for repairs. During the first lap, Grigory Bulitsky and Dmitry Bragin collided while fighting for P5. The former retired while Bragin pitted to change a rear wheel. Then Maslenikov and Mityayev came together on lap 4, and the safety car was deployed to help recover the Hyundai, while Mityayev returned to the pits. When the race resumed, Ladygin went off with broken suspension and collected one of the Lada Sport Rosneft super production cars in the process. Klim Gavrilov took the checkered flag first, but he was given a 5-second penalty for a collision with Fatkudinov, and this dropped him to 3rd. Ivan Lukashevich inherited the victory, while Andrei Radoshnov was promoted to 2nd. Despite a DNF in the second race, Ladygin keeps the lead in the driver's standings, but Duducarlo is just 2 points adrift, and Lukashevich is 3rd. TCR Japan hit the track for the opening event at the end of July, but heavy fog allowed only 1 race to take place. At the start, Shioya led from Hirobon and Matsumoto, who'd sprinted from P7. During the first lap, Shioya made a small mistake and dropped to 3rd behind Hirobon and Matsumoto. But the drive of the race came from Takuro Shinohara in an Audi. Starting from P9 on the grid, he moved up lap by lap and overtook Matsumoto for the lead on lap 11. However, on the following lap, Ichijo managed to pass both his rivals and took the lead. It didn't last for long, as he made a small mistake on lap 13, which opened the door for Shinohara to recover first position. And so that's how they finished, with Shinohara the winner ahead of Ichijo, while Matsumoto retained 3rd despite a late assault from Hirobon. Shioya was 5th and Shimono 6th. Four months after the opening event in Austin, TC America returned to racing on the second weekend of July at the Virginia International Raceway. After qualifying on pole, 15-year-old Tyler Maxson in a Hyundai controlled the race from the front. After starting alongside Maxson on the front row of the grid, Victor Gonzalez Jr. wasn't so fortunate. The Puerto Rican driver was passed going into turn 1 by Scott Smithson, and the leading trio then spent much of the 40-minute race running together, until a puncture forced Gonzalez to pit with a little over 5 minutes of the race remaining. He eventually finished in 13th place overall, although by setting the race's fastest lap, he'd start race 2 from pole. And so, after winning the first 2 races of the season, Maxson did it again, taking victory in front of Smithson, Herbert, Rumberg, Askew and Moses. At the start of the second race, Gonzalez kept the lead from pole, while Maxson sprinted from P3 on the grid to overtake Smithson. Moments later, the Hyundai driver took command of the race and pulled away, leaving Gonzalez defending P2 from Smithson. Behind them, Roy Block and Luke Rumberg had a close fight for P4, swapping positions a few times. On lap 12, a TC car, the BMW driven by Chandler Hull, crashed, hitting the barriers hard. The safety car was deployed with 11 minutes still on the clock, but racing didn't resume. That was the 4th consecutive win for Maxson, with Gonzalez finishing 2nd, Smithson 3rd, Block 4th, Herbert 5th and Rumberg 6th. In race 3, Maxson sprinted from pole position ahead of the rest of the field and pulled away from lap 1. Behind him, Gonzalez passed Smithson in turn 1 for P2 and Block did the same with Olivia Askew for P4. With 14 minutes to go, the safety car was deployed after a car of the TCA class crashed and damaged the barriers quite heavily. The field was regrouped, but just as in race 2, action didn't resume. And so Tyler Maxson continued to dominate the championship with embarrassing ease. 5 wins from 5 races. Gonzalez was 2nd, Smithson 3rd, Block 4th, Alex Papadopoulos 5th and CJ Moses 6th. In the championship standings, Maxson leads with 125 points, almost twice as many as Smithson in 2nd. Gonzalez is 3rd. The second round of the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge, the first race after the pandemic-related delay, took place at Sebring and ended with complete domination by the Hyundai Veloster N cars. After posting the 5 fastest laps in qualifying, with the Curb Agajanian car of Gabby Chavez and Ken Norman on pole, the Korean cars filled the podium at the end of the 2-hour race. Harry Gottsacker and Mark Wilkins teamed up to win the TCR class in the number 21 Brian Herter car, beating the sister number 98 Veloster of Michael Lewis and Mason Philippi by just 0.3 of a second. The podium was completed by Alex Papadopoulos and Ben Waddell in the 47 Motorsports number 47 Hyundai. Wilkins and Gottsacker are now leading the standings, though on equal points with Lewis and Philippi, while Jonathan Morley and Gavin Ernstone, the points leaders after winning the season opener at Daytona in the Road Shagger Racing Audi RS3 LMS, have slipped to 3rd, 2 points behind. That was Inside the World of TCR episode 15, the first of 2020. After an enforced worldwide break, the second part of the year will be filled with many, many races from TCR series all around the planet. We'll be back at the beginning of September, so please stay safe and remember social distancing.